Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2025 release, The Monkey. I'm not going to make it a habit to be reviewing a ton of 2025 releases. I used to do that back in like 2024, 2023. I just don't have the time for it now. But for certain films that I definitely want to make sure I check out, I will be doing reviews for those. And The Monkey was one of them. Really like the output of Oz Perkins, but I am going to say off the bat, I do believe that this is Oz Perkins' worst film, in my opinion. That said, it doesn't mean that I overall hated the film. Oz Perkins does a phenomenal job for the most part. It's just this happens to be the film that isn't as good as the other films. And this is coming off of Longlegs, which I really enjoyed Longlegs. Big fan of Longlegs. Again, written and directed by Osgood Perkins, who just goes by Oz. Did I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House, The Blackcoat's Daughter, and Gretel and Hansel, in addition to Longlegs, like I said. This is based on a Stephen King work, which I have not read, so I don't know how close it is or is not to the actual story itself. I did rent this through Fandango at home for $10.59. That is with tax included. So if you want to check it out there, or I'm sure at some point it's going to be on some streaming service if you want to wait for it. Quick synopsis of this one. So this is literally about this toy monkey that's introduced to the viewers that causes problems. And you know this immediately in the film, that this toy monkey causes huge issues for anyone who is in possession of it, basically. And then they have kind of like an opening scene that kind of sets that up in a very fun and interesting way. And then after that, it gets to kind of our main character and his brother and his mother, who end up inheriting that monkey because it was something that their father had, and then they start messing around with it, and then people end up dying. So that's kind of all I'm going to say about it. I will say it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of actual story to this film, and that's one of the big problems with it, because it is a bit over an hour. No, I think it's like an hour and 37 minutes, if I remember correctly, for the runtime with credits. So yeah, gonna get into my notes here. The first death happens in the very first scene, and it is fun and it is gory. It does a great job of setting up not only the concept around this film, the feel of what you should be getting from this film, which is pretty over the top and supposed to be kind of humorous and just fun and light in a sense, while being very darkly humorous and messed up at the same time. So it really signals to people who are big fans of inventive kills and a lot of gore, this might be a film for you to just kind of turn your brain off to a degree and just have fun. Actually, turn your brain off to a great degree, in my opinion. But I do like how they set that up immediately. The tone is immediately upbeat and humorous, like I was kind of talking about. They did a good job with the design of the actual monkey toy. I think it's appropriately creepy, and it's not just creepy in the sense of just how it's constructed. It's creepy in the sense of how it moves, because whenever it's actually wound up, because there's a key on the back to wind it up, it, kind of like raises its little paw up. It has one of the, because it bangs a drum, it has one of the drumsticks in its hand that like spins around, and then it starts like doing the drumming. But even before that, it actually like goes from this. It's like it like grins, which is a nice added touch. But it is creepy. It feels like it has this life of its own to a degree, and I think they did a great job with that aspect of it. Most of the characters are a bit ridiculous and do not interact in realistic ways. There's actually a lot of stuff in this film that doesn't feel even close to being realistic. And it does keep you from really caring about any of these characters. None of them feel likable. None of them feel all that realistic. The ways they interact with each other don't make a whole lot of sense a lot of the time. And they just interact in these really odd ways, especially this character and his son. One of the characters and their son, like that dynamic, like I understand that they're like somewhat estranged, but at the same time, like how they interact throughout the film, it's just, I don't know, it's weird. But that's one of the other big problems with this film, is that you don't really care about any characters. So when people are in danger, it's just like, okay, fine. You really just find yourself being like, okay, when's the next kill? Like checking your watch. When's the next kill? How fun is it going to be? What's the gore level going to be? And it's always, I will say I think the kills are always fun. I think the gore level is always a lot of fun. Now, granted, it's not all practical effects, so for some people out there who will see it and be like, CGI. Sorry, you're going to be disappointed. There is a decent amount of CGI, but it doesn't look bad. You can tell that it's CGI, but it doesn't look bad. Some of the dialogue seems too forced, and it really stands out as being just odd within the film itself, and does detract from the, even though I said there's not a lot of it, the story. And it's just, I don't know. Like, the dialogue's not that well written. I don't really think, for the most part, the humor's all that great. Although, there are a few moments where the humor actually made me chuckle a little bit. So, it hits sometimes, but it's not hitting more often than it is hitting. At least for me personally. And that's one of the reasons I didn't really love this film. It's that, it's the lack of story, it's the characters. It's all those things rolled together that just kind of made me feel like, yeah, this isn't a hit for me, really. It's shot really well, and I love how Perkins executes slow zoom-ins on characters, especially when something kind of sinister or creepy or messed up is happening or about to happen, and the musical choices that are made to go along with those slow zoom-ins. Love how he does that. And, you can watch Longlegs and then you can watch The Monkey or vice versa, and just know it was the same person, because the look of it is very similar. The musical choices are very similar, and just the feel is pretty similar. Well, to a degree. It feels like it takes a long time to get where it's going, unfortunately, especially when there really isn't that much story. So the pacing isn't the best, even though events-wise, I think things move relatively quickly. It just feels like, from a story perspective, you're not getting a whole lot as it's progressing. So it starts to feel just kind of repetitive. The very end feels confused to me. I think that's kind of the best way I can put it. Obviously, I'm not going to ruin anything about it because this is a no spoiler review, but it just felt like a kind of confused ending where he didn't have a clear idea what he wanted to do with that. And it was just kind of like, okay, well then I'll do this, and then maybe I'll throw this in, and it's just not cohesive. It's not like a coherent finale to the film, in my opinion. I think that I just end up thinking of this a little bit more of like, if it was a Final Destination film, I think people may like it more and enjoy it more and have less of an expectation of it being a lot greater. Because if you just kind of sit back and you're just like, this is a kind of Final Destination film, it's different. It kind of hits in that sense better. This film is ultimately about father issues and how that ends up leading to bad decisions. You kind of get that idea immediately. But it's also that you can't control what happens in life because life just is not fair. And there is something that gets called out like almost immediately in the film that bashes you over the head with that idea instead of being more subtextual. There's no subtext in this film. There's none. Everything is very surface level, which, Longlegs pretty much was as well. Like, that's kind of a lot of what Perkins does. His stuff is more about like style and having like kind of a cool story idea, not necessarily about getting deep or having a lot of subtext or anything. So it is what it is. But I would say out of 5 stars, half stars in play, I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5 stars, because there were some things I really enjoyed about it, mainly how it looks, some musical choices, the humorous feel to it, and the kills and the gore. And then there were things that I obviously didn't like. The characters were not well written at all. The pacing wasn't great. And what's the other? Oh yeah, the dialogue just not good, and it's not that funny. But so I know some people who did find it pretty funny. So 2.5 out of 5 stars, very in the middle on this one. Like I said, in my opinion, Oz Perkins' worst film, but that's not terrible. And I will be looking for what he puts out next, because I will 100% see it. I will see everything he puts out, because to date, I have seen every film he's done so far, and I will keep that going. Not like it's a lot, but anyway, thank you for checking this out. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. We can talk spoilers in the comments. Go ahead. Do me a favor and hit subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to get a little more involved, you can join one of my memberships. I have a link in the description. There are 3 separate levels. The top level, which I think is $4.99 a month, ends up getting you early access to all my videos, plus access to the Discord, and also access to exclusive videos that no one else will see. And then the next tier down gets the Discord and early access to all videos except those top exclusive ones. And then the lowest level, which I think is like $1.99 or something, gets you just early access to all my videos other than those exclusive ones. So that's what that is. Do me thumbs up on the video. That would help me out. And notification bell button if you want to know when I'm putting up new videos. But regardless, thank you so much for your time. Until next time, keep it brutal.